All right, this is my last video about the Camino. I just wanted to recap some of the things that I had purchased for the trip or used for the trip. I said that I would tell you how they worked when I got back from my trip, so here we go. First thing was my Osprey backpack. I got the Stratos 34. This ended up being a great pack. In fact, I saw a ton of people with it along the journey. It was a really popular pack. 34 liters was really good size. I saw some people with up to 65 liter packs, and that was just too big. A lot of them were shipping them ahead. 50, too big. I'm glad I brought a 34 because it was, it fit everything, but I wasn't tempted to pack too much. So this was a great bag. Loved all the pockets. Loved that I could hang everything off of it. Worked out great for me. Highly recommend. I did talk about using a bladder. I ended up using the Osprey 2 liter, and I filled it up pretty much every day and just drank through it, and then only had a bottle that I would refill. This was a good amount of water. A lot of people didn't use these, but I did, and I'm so glad I did. I just like that I didn't have to refill throughout the trip, and it did make my bag heavier, but I think it was worth it because I just was never scared that I was going to run out of water, which some of my friends did, but there's a lot of water on the Camino. And then the one thing I would say is that a couple people put electrolytes in their camelbacks or their bladders, and it molded. And so that is just something I would say, if you're bringing a bladder, don't put electrolytes in here. It stayed clean the whole time. I mean, it's water. Rinsed it occasionally, but don't put electrolytes in here. So what I did for electrolytes, I had this little like water bottle. I've had it for a long time. I loved this. I would definitely recommend this because it was so light when it was empty, but then I could just put 1 liter of water in it and put my tablet or my powder for my electrolytes, and then I could rinse this out. And so that was really great that it didn't mold anything else. I also love that it had this clip, and so I clipped it on the side of my bag and I could just like drink it, and then when I was done I put it away in my pocket. So that was a great thing that I had. I'm really, really happy with this. My poles, I didn't know if I should bring poles, and this was one of my family friends just did the Camino and they said just take them. I'm so glad I did have poles. I mean, there was just a lot of downhill that was really rocky that I needed them for, especially with my knees. And I mean, most of my friends used them, only a couple didn't. Everyone said on the way in that you didn't have to bring your poles because there's plenty of places to buy them, and that is true. And they're really not that expensive. So if you don't want to have them, like, you can get them there. But definitely would recommend poles, especially if you are doing those first couple days from Saint Jean through the Pyrenees. I think they're needed. And then towards the end, when you get to like the Osabreo area, I think it was really needed then as well. As far as other little bags, I brought just like a tiny little laundry bag. This is one thing that I would change. When our clothes, up towards the end, we got lazy with laundry, just didn't want to do it every day, and so I was packing dirty clothes, and they stunk. So I would say I would have probably brought more like a dry bag for laundry in the future, just so that my laundry doesn't like stink every time I open my bag. And most of my friends had like a dry bag, and so I think that worked a little bit better. I did bring this little portable backpack that goes up into just its pocket, and that was a good call. One of my friends ended up checking his bag the whole time, and so I was able to lend this to him until the next big city where he could buy his own little backpack. But it was a good day pack. It was also good for groceries. It was good at the end of my trip. You know, anytime we were in a big city and I just wanted to carry my like daily stuff. So that was definitely a win, and I would recommend it. I brought these 2 of my packing cubes, and I love them. Again, I got these new because one of my friends recommended it, and I just liked that it had the double zip where you can expand it and make it wider or skinnier. And then I loved that it had the handle so I could easily pull it out of my bag. Pretty much every night the routine was like pull these out, get my clothes out for the next day, laundry, you know, once it dried, put them back in, put them in my bag in the morning. So I really liked these packs. 2 things that I forgot to talk about in the packing video were my towel and my sleep sheet. So I have had these microfiber towels for a long time. It's like a big towel and then like a kind of a hand towel. One of my friends told me she only brought this size with her and her husband, and they said it was great. I brought a bigger one, and I'm kind of glad because sometimes in the showers too, like there's not places to change and stuff. So just being able to cover up a little bit more for me was nice. But I can see for them, like they just dried off in the shower stall, changed in the shower stall, but everything just felt wet. So Up to you. I think I could have gotten by with a towel this size, but I'm glad I had this one. And in fact, I had them both. So sometimes I would dry off with this, and then I would use this to like help clean the floor or like my shoes that were wet afterward. So this was like not used for my body, but those were my towels. I forgot to talk about that. I also forgot to talk about my sleep sheet. Thankfully, my aunt lent this one to me because I had a cotton sleep sheet, and she lent me this silk one, which was like an extra large size. She had bought it for the Camino earlier this year, and I loved it. It has like a little pocket for the pillow, so even though they provide paper sheets a lot of times, it was really nice to be able to put this sleep sheet on your bed and just cover everything and feel like you were in a clean space. So I love this. It was also like perfect for both cool and hot situations. And she got the extra large size, I think, on Amazon. And so that was just really nice, especially as a tall person, to just have a little bit more space. My accessories, you can see my baseball hat I wore every single day, and it got really faded out in the sun, but I loved it. I'm so glad I had it because it really helped when I had a hood over it for sun protection. It also helped with my rain jacket, but I would say I was in the minority with wearing a baseball hat. I feel like you could tell we're Americans if we're wearing baseball hats. A lot of people were wearing like big sun hats, but I really preferred this. In fact, I only wore my sun hat like 2 days because I just preferred my baseball hat with the other sun coverage. I did purchase a beanie along the way, and I would do the same thing again. I don't think I would have packed it with me, but once it got cold towards the end of the trip, I definitely am glad that I purchased this because mornings were especially really chilly. And then sometimes even at night towards the end, I would wear this. So good purchase, but I wouldn't pack it with me on the way because I didn't need it most of my trip. And the same goes for gloves. I didn't need them most of the trip, but I'm glad I purchased them along the way. There were tons of places to buy them. The outdoor stores, but also like when we were in Lyon, there was like a hat store that had like really cheap beanies and gloves. So a ton of people got them there. But good to have, especially for the mornings when it was really chilly. And then I brought like my cheap little buff that I had from before, and this was like the most used thing that I had. Started with like trying to block myself from flies or sweat or whatever, sun, but then also I ended up keeping it on my backpack, like on my shoulder strap a lot of the trip because I don't know why, my nose ran every single day. Sometimes because of the cold. I tried allergy medicine because I didn't know if it was that. It wasn't just me, but I was like going through tissues so much that finally I just started using like this and then washing it. And so that was something that really helped for me. In my toiletries kit, I'm really glad I brought the hanging bag. Someone had recommended that to me, and it was great because again, there's like no places to hang your stuff. So I had this and a carabiner, and I could hang it and then kind of get things out while I was showering. So that worked out really well for me. And then I had my 2 dry bags. One had shampoo conditioner bars and one had a soap bar. The shampoo and conditioner bars, you can see they're kind of nasty now, but these worked out really great for me. I bought the Kitsch ones. So the shampoo and conditioner, it took me a bit to figure out like the ratios. My hair felt a little greasy at first, but shampoo worked really great. I really used one and a little bit. My conditioner, I barely even used one, so I would have only taken 1 conditioner. I probably would have taken the 2 shampoo bars. And then you can see it just kind of dissolved and disintegrated. So it's kind of gross, but it worked really great throughout the trip, and I would recommend them. The other thing is, I talked about in the first video that I had those like body wash little papers, and I was leery at the beginning, and I was right to feel that way. They didn't work out very long at all. So partway through the trip, we stayed in an albergue where they homemade soap, and that ended up working great. And so going forward, I just bought a soap bar and kept it in here. And that was, I would have done that from the start. So just a bar of soap, I think, worked way better than like any sort of body wash situation. And again, these were so nice because they have the hooks, and so I could hang them, like just take these 2 little bags in and hang them in the shower. My Body Glide, I had said I would bring this for chafing. I actually didn't use it for chafing so much, but on my feet, actually, for my blisters, it really helped a lot on my feet. So would recommend this as well. I probably could have gotten by with a smaller Body Glide, but I didn't want to buy anything new, so that worked great. Deodorant, that's just something random, but I took a small deodorant, ran out, ended up having to buy this one, and I just am making you aware that their deodorant is different. It's like a roll-on, but worked great, loved it. Vaseline, this was funny because before my trip, someone's like, that's too big of a Vaseline. It'll take you a month to go through that. And I actually emptied that whole Vaseline and like halfway used this one. So I was pretty much putting that on my feet every single day. Also sometimes on my hands, lips, if they were sunburned or whatever, nose when we were all like sniffling a lot and had kind of colds, just got raw from blowing your nose. So went through a lot of Vaseline. SPF sunscreen, chapstick was a huge win. I think that was it for toiletries, and those worked really well. Toothpaste, I went through a couple tubes of it, and I would just say that when I went to the pharmacy to buy new toothpaste, I looked and thankfully the pharmacist was like, no, that's like gums, something for your gums. So I just asked going forward, is this toothpaste anytime I was looking, because it looks a little bit different than our toothpaste at home, but purchased that I think 3 times total on the trip. This was kind of my catch-all bag that I just put all the random odds and ends. Fork and cup, I did not use this hardly at all. I think I used it one time, and I had them from my aunt, so I didn't purchase it, but I do know some of my friends, the younger ones out of college, ate at the albergue a lot, so they did use like a fork a lot more than I did. I pretty much ate out most of the trip, so I didn't really use these. Even like the cup, we were like, oh, if you share wine at night, pretty much everyone was just like drinking out of the bottle, or, you know, we would find cups. So I didn't use this at all. And I don't think I would bring it in the future. There were several people who carried like coffee mugs because they drank coffee, or like a tin. I don't drink coffee, so maybe if I did, then I would be more inclined to use it. Doggy bags and hand sanitizer, I think that was a good thing to bring. Several times, you know, there's not a bathroom, and so you have to use the bathroom on the side of the road. It was really disappointing how many people left their paper just like everywhere. It was kind of gross and sad. And then even some places they'd put out like a trash can for you, and people still had, you know, toilet paper all around. So I just think everyone should bring like a bag and take out whatever you bring in. Don't leave stuff. It's kind of nasty. Electrolytes. I started with the Element electrolytes. I only brought 15 packs from home, and I do wish I brought 30 because I love the flavors of those, and I like the combination of salts, just like I react to it a little bit better. But I did refill on this at one of the outdoor stores. It was just sodium, but it worked fine. I just didn't love it. But it was better than some of my friends got electrolytes from the pharmacist, and those were just way too sweet for me. So definitely have them. A lot of people were cramping and stuff, and they weren't using electrolytes. So we just kept telling people, like, you need electrolytes, especially if you're just walking and sweating that much throughout the day. It was pretty important. Typically, I would either take this or drink an Aquarius, which is like the Gatorade-ish drink there. Usually comes in a can or a bottle, but either or every single day. As far as laundry, I had brought this from my aunt who had just done it in September, but I brought some clothespins. I did use those a couple times. There were not clothespins at the clotheslines, like they were already all used. So I did use them. I do wish I brought plastic clothespins instead of wooden clothespins, because just once they got wet, they kind of got nasty. I didn't use my clothesline at all. I did try to use this little like jar gripper kind of thing to cover up a sink. It didn't hold the water at all, so that was a no. And then laundry detergent, same thing. I had brought the sheets originally. Those did not work at all. They all stuck together. So pretty quickly I bought the Trek and Travel soap, and that worked so much better. And I shared it with a lot of people too. So that was definitely a much better purchase than the other one. With my liquids, I had brought 2 bedbug sprays. I mean, I used it a couple times. I don't think it was necessary. I didn't see any bed bugs the entire trip, but one of my friends did stay somewhere where they had bed bugs. So I don't know, but I brought it with me. I used it. Maybe it worked, maybe it didn't. I brought my lavender and peppermint. I did use those several times, so that was worth bringing. And then my itch relief stick for bug bites. I got bit quite a few times, but it wasn't as bad. So I did use my itch relief stick, and I'm glad I brought it with me. As far as medications, I actually used quite a bit of my medications. Cough drops throughout. Just kind of got cold. I used all my cold and flu medicine, and I would say most of my friends did use cold and flu medicine as well. The other big thing was ibuprofen. I normally don't take medicine, but pretty much every day I had to. My feet were in pain, my muscles were in pain, and so taking ibuprofen really helped. And I got that refilled at the pharmacist multiple times. I tried taking allergy medicine. I thought maybe it was like hay fever. It didn't really help, so I don't know. My nose was running a lot of the trip. The other thing that I went through that was really, really great were those Ollie night gummies that had like echinacea, elderberry, like immune support. Those were great, and they really did make me kind of knock out at night. I ran out of them like towards the end of the trip, but by then I think I was just so tired that I was sleeping well anyways. But I would recommend that for anybody. This was like my most used pack because I just got such bad blisters. I did use the needle and thread like some people had recommended, but honestly it didn't work great for me. So I ended up using my Swiss Army knife to kind of just like cut open a blister and let it drain. I know a lot of my European friends were like, never pop a blister, but I couldn't walk with it rubbing like that. It hurt so bad. So I usually popped it, let it drain. The one thing I do wish that I brought from home, which thankfully one of my friends lent it to me halfway through the trip, was Neosporin with the pain medication. So you can get something like Neosporin out there, which I did buy. I have it in here somewhere. But they don't have the pain relief. And so I really do wish that I brought Neosporin with the pain relief with me. So that would be a suggestion for anybody who's packing to go on the trip. Compeeds, I went through so many of these. Again, these are a really good bandage. They're supposed to stay on for like days. Some of us loved them. Some of us were like, I don't think my blisters are actually healing underneath this, because I mean, it's trapping it and not letting air get in. So I use these a lot, but then I actually found just using like a regular bandage and gauze and then using more like the medical tape to keep it on actually helped them heal better towards the end of my trip. So I'm sure it's up to everybody and how bad your blisters are, but that really helped me towards the end. Lamb's wool, I was unsure about bringing this, and I am really glad. I went through actually like 3 packs altogether. I brought one, and then one of my friends gave me 2 of his because he didn't have to use it at all. But this helped me pretty much every day. I was packing it in kind of on my heels when I had really bad blisters, and then up in my toes when I had bad blisters. So that helped a ton. Band-Aids, I bought so many Band-Aids along the trip, all different kinds and sizes. So it was funny because one of my family members was like, I only used 1 Band-Aid the entire trip. I'm like, what? Because I used a ton. Alcohol prep wipes, I do wish I brought a few more of those, specifically because I used the KT tape on my knee. That helped a ton, and I think at first people were looking at me like, what? Because I was the only one I saw with it for a while, but then other friends started doing that same method of like making the X around your knee, and it just helped so much with stabilization, and so other people were using that method. I ran out of my KT tape, but it ended up, I could have purchased it anywhere. They have like vending machines where you can buy stuff. And so I'm just really glad that I brought my KT tape because that helped a ton, especially like those first few days getting used to the ups and the downs. This is a random thing. Some people made fun of me for it, but super glue I had to buy along the way because my heels cracked so bad from like being dry. So not only did I have the blisters, but like my heels were cracked. And so that's why it just like hurt to take every step. So I learned this in Colorado in college. Like, I don't know, they taught me this. But when your heels crack so bad, hold it closed and like put some super glue over it. And so that actually helped a ton. I know it's weird, but it really did help. And then kind of allowed that to heal so that my blisters could heal. So yes, weird, but it worked. Nail clippers, I used these several times throughout the trip. So definitely recommend that, not only for your fingernails and toenails, but also sometimes that helped with like popping a blister. And then the last thing that's in this case is my Swiss Army knife. I had a smaller Swiss Army knife and I ended up taking my mom's, which is a little bigger, and I'm so glad I brought this one. It just has so many more features that I used all the time. I used the knife, I used the scissors, I used the wine opener, the toothpick, the tweezers. I mean, I used this every single day. So that was definitely a big win to bring with me. Again, I did check my bag on the way out, and so I'm glad that I was able to check this with me. But if not, I know a lot of people bought knives like in St. Jean, and I just think this was better, like having all the tools. I use the scissors every single day, I think every single day, so that was really something great to have with me. Okay, going to shoes. I had started with the Hoka Speed Goats that were size 10.5, And I really, in hindsight, I should have bought a new pair prior to the trip. I had worn them several hundred miles for training, and I knew I needed a new pair, but I was scared to get a new pair because I didn't want blisters on the trip. Well, I ended up having blisters on the trip. The sole was just kind of worn through, and turns out even though they were half size bigger than my foot, I ended up getting 11s, and these worked so much better for me. So I would recommend a full size bigger than your normal. Just my feet swelled so much. You're going down and up, and so that kind of rubs different. I did learn I was tightening them too much, and so when I kept my shoes looser, I actually got way less blisters. So that was helpful. I also, on the downhills, learned to use this second little loop. It just tightened my ankle a little bit more so my feet weren't slipping, because that's where I actually got more blisters, was the downhill than the uphill. So I did like the Hokas. At one point in the videos I said I thought maybe people only recommended this who had done the Portuguese, but tons of people were wearing Hokas, and once I got my new pair, I was fine. So I would recommend Hoka Speed Goats to anybody. And then my Tevas, I'm so glad I brought these. I ended up hiking in them several days. They were not very comfortable to hike in. In fact, if I was going to hike in sandals, like if I wanted to do that, someone bought Hoka running sandals along the way, and those were great because they had like a real sole, like a running sole, but with a sandal. And so if I was going to hike in sandals again, I would get those. But these were great to use like in the shower most of the time, and then to be able to use them when I needed to hike occasionally. There were a lot of girls who had the same exact pair as me. So we all knew, oh, you got blisters, your feet are hurting if you were hiking in your Tevas. My jackets, I had gone back and forth over if I was going to wear or bring a fleece or a puffer. I brought a really cheap puffer because if I was going to throw it away, or if I needed to ditch it, I would have not wanted to use a nice one. And I'm glad because it wasn't too warm, it wasn't too cool. I used it when I first got into Paris. It was really cold. Then I didn't use it again probably until Lyon-ish. It started getting really cold at night and in the mornings. And so I actually even used it at night, kind of like as a blanket on my bed. And then I'd wear it kind of like the first hour and a half, 2 hours in the morning, and then I was fine for the rest of the day. But I am glad I brought this. It was so comfortable, and I saw several other people with puffers, so I like this better than a fleece. I think it was great to bring. And then my rain jacket, I just bought an REI rain jacket. It's the kind that packs up into its pocket. This is not the top of the line one, like maybe the middle, I think, if I remember right. And it worked well. The problem is it just doesn't breathe at all. So I was like dripping sweat. So despite it keeping the rain out, I was soaking wet inside. Even with unzipping the armpits, I was so wet. So I don't know. One of my friends had like a more expensive Archaeopteryx that's like a $200 jacket. He seemed dry all the time. So maybe if I do future backpacking, I would invest in one of those. So this helped. It was fine. It was light. It was great. I loved having the hood and being able to put that over my hat. But I was still soaking wet from my sweat all the time. As far as my bottoms, I had brought this Patagonia jumper, and I am really glad I brought this. I saw people say like bring a dress or a normal outfit, and I saw a lot of people in dresses, but it just got so chilly at night that I was kind of glad to have some pants. And then also this helped if I was like, I don't know, doing laundry and it's still cold, I could put like a long sleeve over, and I had like a second pair of pants. So I'm very happy with bringing this Patagonia jumper. I would definitely recommend this. It did get a little, I think I bought it a little bit too big. I would have bought a size smaller, but I definitely loved this. For my hiking pants, I had brought these Patagonia, they're like running pants. I bought for a trip to the Amazon, and I love them because they're so light. But the problem was they were almost like a little bit too thin. I ended up ripping the butt, and so I had to sew that up. Now I have to get them repaired. But I think I would have brought just a little bit of a more durable pant, just for, sitting on rocks and rubbing and things like that. So that would be a recommendation. But I did like how light they were. I could wear them pretty much the entire trip. They weren't too hot, which was great. And then my 2 pairs of shorts were from Amazon. I really liked these. I liked how long they were. I did lose weight on the trip, so they got a little bit too big for me at the end and were kind of gapping, but I loved them. I love the long inseam. I wore shorts almost every day. I know some of my friends wore pants every day. I just run hot, so I was glad to wear shorts. And I loved both of these pairs. They dry really quick when I washed them. So yeah, that was a good recommendation. As far as my shirts, I ended up bringing 2 short sleeves and I wore them both. So at the beginning of my trip, I kind of went through a 4-day rotation. I would wear a shirt, 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 shirt. But then by the end of the trip, it was so chilly that I really only wore a short sleeve shirt and a long sleeve shirt every day. So I kind of had 2 combinations. So I know I saw videos beforehand that said like only bring 2 outfits, one that you're wearing, one for the next day. I'm glad I had more options for sure. So short sleeve Patagonia shirt, loved it. It was great, dried really fast. Short sleeve REI shirt with a little bit of a longer sleeve. Loved this one, dried really fast, great shirt. I had 2 long sleeves. Loved this one. You'll see it in a lot of the videos because it just was so comfortable. This was just an REI sun protection shirt, I believe. REI. Yep, love this shirt. REI sun protection, long sleeve. I wore this one a lot. And then this one actually I think was my favorite. It kind of feels cottony, so it's the most comfortable. It has a hood, and so I use this all the time to protect from the sun. But this was also the only hood I had, so on cold days before I got my beanie, I was wearing this all the time. But this also dried so fast. I was shocked. Whenever I did laundry, this was the first thing dry. So this was a North Face SPF long sleeve, but I loved this and would definitely recommend. And then the last things are my hiking socks. So I brought 3 pairs with me, 2 different cuts. I did not like the ankle socks. So I would just say, I don't know, it's personal preference, but I did not like the ankle socks, even though that's what I normally wear like day to day or when I'm hiking. They were just too short, I think. So those ones were Smart Wool. Didn't like those as much. This was a funny story. They're stretched out now, but one of my friends washed these and they dried and they shrunk up like baby socks. So I kept them because I kind of needed this extra pair, but these ones, they're inside out right now, shrunk up really fast. So I learned that. I should have known that, but wool on high heat was a definite no. I left a pair of socks at an albergue, so I had to get another pair, and I ended up buying 2. So these actually ended up being my favorite ones. These ones are Smart Wool, and they have just like a little bit of an ankle to them, and I loved both of these pairs. I did sometimes try to wear 2 pairs when I had blisters, and I don't think that helped. I heard everyone say like, are you wearing liners? Are you wearing thick enough socks? These ended up being my favorite socks throughout the trip. So those were kind of my socks. Then lastly, I did electronics. I would have changed the plug that I brought. I brought like a big brick that had multiple plugs, and so did a lot of other people. And several albergues, there's not a plug by your bed, but there's like a power strip. And so you'd plug it in there and you kind of share chargers. But then if you wanted to pack yours, people's were like plugged in, or if they wanted to pack yours, your stuff was plugged into them. So one of my friends only brought just like one circular thing, and then he brought like an extension cord with his own like a power strip. I actually think that worked better. I don't know. I just wish I brought something a little bit smaller, because also those big plugs that are like extended, they don't plug into the plug very well. So it just wasn't my favorite thing that I brought with me. And then love the GoPro. It did really well for me. I'm so glad I brought my Kindle. I know several people said like that's too heavy. I read it pretty much every night so that I stayed off my phone, which was great. And after my trip, I read it all the time. So I'm very glad I had my Kindle. My journal, it was bigger than others, but several girls my age had the same journal or a similar size. So I'm very glad I brought my journal with me. We were laughing though. I mean, I'm a journaler. Other people, they're like, oh, I just voice dictated into my phone. And my journal, one of my friends is not a journaler. She's like, this was my journal today. The sky is pretty. The clouds are big. So we just laughed. Everyone's different, but that was good for me. I didn't end up using my playing cards a single time, so I ditched those along the way. I didn't use my tiny flashlight a single time, like the first half, and so I threw it away, but then I wish I had it, because as the trip went on, the sun came up later and later, and I didn't bring a headlamp, so I do kind of wish I kept that little flashlight. I just used my phone, or I just kind of followed someone who did have a headlamp. It wasn't a big deal, because I tried not to get on the road too early. I mean, several people were getting on the road at 6 every day, and they were hiking in the dark for like 2 hours. I usually was on the road by like 7:30. So I was in the dark maybe an hour, 30 minutes. But once the, sun kind of started to peak up, it was bright enough. So that is my recommendation. Oh, and then the only thing that I didn't pack that I wish I had was one of my friends had a tiny fan with him. And so he was able to it was just like a USB charged fan. So he would put it on him at night. And I really wish I had that just because it sometimes got so hot in the albergues. And having fresh moving air, I think that would have helped me sleep a little bit better. But also, like when we would get in and do laundry, he would leave his fan like blowing on his wet clothes. Like let's say his socks weren't totally dry, he'd hang them in his bed and kind of have the fan pointing to them. And so I thought that was something really nice to have, and I kind of wish I would have brought that. So going forward, I would make sure to have one of those. But I think that's it. Overall, it was a great trip. I was really pleased with how I packed and what I had with me. My bag was a little heavier than other people, but I think it was worth it. I'm glad with all the clothes that I had, and I had a great trip. I felt very well prepared, protected, and the other thing I would just say is if you don't have something, you really can find it anywhere along the way. Like, it's very well supplied. There's vending machines in almost every city with supplies. There's grocery stores, every couple days in the big cities. There's big stores. The Camino Outfitter stores, were way better than the Decathlon stores. Like, Decathlon I would compare to, I don't know, Big Five or Dick's or something. I didn't actually like Decathlon as much. The Camino Outfitter stores, they're just tiny, but they have everything you could need. And these people are so smart. So some of my friends had never had their bag fitted. They didn't know how to wear their bag. And so they were wearing it too low and their back was hurting so bad. Their shoulders were hurting so bad. So the Camino Outfitter showed them how their pack fit well. And that helped a ton. I mean, insoles. Oh, that's another thing. Insoles for my shoes. My brother told me when I got back, he's like, I forgot to tell you to bring insoles after, he had done the PCT. So that is something I probably would have brought as well. But those Camino Outfitters, they sold all of that. They sold shoes, they sold every kind of hat, medicine, whatever. So you can find those, and those were so helpful. And those people are so passionate and knowledgeable. But everything was pretty much available. Oh, my other regret was I only brought, I guess I already packed them away. I only had brought 2 sports bras, and I really wish I brought 3. I had 3, and then I hesitated and I put one back for multiple reasons. But, I mean, sports bras for me didn't always dry. So I would wear a sports bra for the day. When I got in and washed it, I had another one to put on, and then I had my backup. And so it was kind of a 3-day rotation. So if a sports bra didn't dry overnight, I had something to wear. I did have only 2 sports bras, and I lost one at an albergue. And so then I only had one. And so I had to walk to the Decathlon to get some. And I'm a bigger person, and the sizes, they're a little smaller. So we laughed because, I was squeezing into some sports bras for a little bit until we got to a big city. But I definitely wish I had brought 3 of those. Other than that, I think I really packed well, and I didn't overpack. I'm glad I had my headphones. I'm glad I had my sunglasses. I'm glad that I had, my fanny pack. I already disassembled everything. My fanny pack ended up working great. I was so happy with the size of it. It was big, but it fit everything. It fit my passport and my credentials. It fit my chopstick, my GoPro, my phone, my charger. I didn't talk about that. Power pack. I brought that with me, and I just brought a small one, and I'm glad I did. One of my friends brought a huge one. That was just too heavy. Because really, my phone would last most of the day, but I always wanted it just in case I needed to navigate towards the end, or if I wanted to listen to music towards the end. But yeah, I was very happy with how I packed. So I'm sure I missed things because I've already put half of my stuff away. So I'm sure I missed something. But if you have any questions, let me know and I will try to answer them. Good luck packing for your Camino, and to myself, if I go on another Camino, just make sure to pack well because it just made the trip so much more enjoyable. But thank you guys for watching and supporting, and I hope that your trips go well in the future.